12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general laws, chapter 38, section 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Town of Chelmsford Finance Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information, the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website at www.chelmsfordma.gov. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the meeting may do so by accessing the Chelmsford Town Media website at www.chelmsfordtv.org. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure the public can accurately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive recording of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Please know that if you would like to watch this meeting but do not plan to present in the committee or speak during public comment, we ask that you please do so at live.chelmsfordtv.org or on your television, Comcast Channel 99, Verizon Channel 37. By doing so, you'll help reduce demand on the online meeting platform. Thank you. So now we've got a call to order. We have approval of minutes, and we have a set of minutes from April 8th of 2021. Has everyone had a chance to review those?
Yep.
I'm seeing tepid responses.
I may have read them, but I can't remember.
It was a very large set of meeting minutes from our votes for that evening. So if we're not comfortable voting on it, sounds like a majority of us are not. We can just put those off to our next meeting, whenever that may occur.
That sounds like a great idea.
Fantastic. Do we have any public comment? Just a reminder, there'll be a public comment section after our votes this evening. All right, seeing none. First on their agenda item this evening is a presentation on Springtown Meeting Article 2. Let's bring that up for us. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. With us this evening, we have Darlene Lucier, our town accountant. We have also Paul Cohen, our town manager, and our finance director, John Souza, I believe, is on the call as well. Yes, he is. So with Article 2, it looks like we have some numbers now. We had taken no action in pendency of there being numbers applied to this. Now we have numbers for it. So either Paul or Darlene.
I'll go ahead and present this article. As like a lot of years, we finish finishing the fiscal year, and sometimes we have some unbudgeted, unexpected costs that happen right before we're going to be closing the fiscal year. So these are a few items that we're going to need to have funding for, and we're asking under Article 2 that this comes from the from your FinCom reserve account. Just to give you a little bit of background on each one of these expenditures. The first group under Municipal Administration, we're asking for I think it says 52 there, but I think we're looking.
You want to go to the next slide, Jim?
I think we're asking for 54, actually. I thought 54,000. So we need, there was last year in our audit management letter, the auditors required us to do a cybersecurity assessment plan. So to get this accomplished, the MIS department actually hired a firm to help us write this security assessment plan. And the cost of that was $20,000. So because this was unexpected at the time when the original budget was set, this is something that needs to be covered, and to clear up that management note in the management letter of the auditors, we really needed to get this done. So it is completed. The assessment plan is completed. I believe that they're going to be presenting something at the Springtown meeting and how that is, but we need $20,000 there. Our legal line, we had a lot of labor services. Of course, you all know we have the ongoing police labor, and the Board of Selectmen have also been using this, the legal services for labor, negotiations with the manager's contracts and such. So we need an additional $32,000 for that for the next 2 months, those bills coming in. And then the out of town tuition, we actually had an additional student from the one that we had last year. We were notified in the fall that another student was going to Minuteman. So this is we need just a little additional cost for this one student that's going to Minuteman. Next group is the public safety operations. It's the fire department and building inspection. For the fire department, I was speaking with Chief Ryan. He's had some issues with the vehicles, the actual fire trucks, and the pumper, and needed some work that was unexpected. The work had to get done to keep those vehicles running. And then he has hires of 4 new firefighters coming in the first of the year, and they need to purchase turnout gear for those folks. He likes to have the turnout gear purchased before they start in July. And then under building inspection, when I noted there that the purpose was for building commissioners' salaries, we had one building commissioner that actually had to go out on medical disability. And in the meantime, we hired another inspector. And for a short term, we were paying two inspectors. So there's just an $11,000 salary line item that we need to fund to cover that budget. Then into public works, solid waste. As we've been seeing, I think it's just really COVID related, people being home, our tonnage has increased. So we need a budget adjustment for that line item. And then street lighting, we've actually seen an increase in our solar cross increase. These are really the solar usage is just hard to predict, is really what that is. And when sort of to make the street lighting account be in and go in the black, we need a $10,000 there. But those two and then the line item for snow and ice, when I say transfer to public works, we'll be moving. It's really not asking from your budget. We're actually going to be taking the amount from snow and ice to cover those two deficits under public works. We've had a surplus in our snow and ice of $100,000 this year. So we're able to just actually do a transfer from the snow and ice account over to public works. And if anybody has any questions, I can answer any of those questions for you.
I have a couple, Arlene. Is the cyber assessment, is that going to be an annual requirement going forward, or like a regular recurrence?
I'm actually going to have John Souza answer that question. He's been very involved with MIS with this project more than I have, so I think he could probably answer this better for you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, to answer to Eric's question, this was what we've been working on. Is it's a cyber threat assessment of an outside consultants doing it of our network and all our programs and our cybersecurity features and that. And what will end up happening is they'll give us some items that they would like to see IT work on or do more research on and look into. So it'll kind of be a continual improvement process, but we don't plan to. I don't foresee the need to spend, a sum, $20,000 sum or something to have a complete assessment done annually. But they will most likely, when you just being really cautious with all that's going on in the world, I'm sure they'll give us a list of items to look at, and some of them may be able to be done in-house. Some of them might require an equipment or a software upgrade, but I think we'd be able to handle most of that within the IT budget going forward.
Thank you. On the building inspection salaries, so if an inspector or a commissioner went out on disability, I assume that he would be paid out of a disability account. So wouldn't the salary expense stop if he's out on disability? So if you brought in somebody new, wouldn't that just pick up what he was being paid before? Darlene, you're on mute. Sorry.
You muted down.
No, we actually pay that short-term, the disability when he's out. So that actually does come out from our line item budget.
Okay, thank you. And then the last one, on the street lighting, can you explain, it sounds like the sun is charging us more. How does the cost of solar go up?
It's actually, it's the chart. So the solar is, our solar usage gets charged on our national grid bill. So we actually get charged through, it's kind of flows through national grid. And so we don't really, like, it's, if there's no sun, then we're not producing any solar on that. So that solar amount may increase. So the amount on the bill could actually be more than what we're seeing. So it's really just depends on the sunlight and what we're on the solar. That's really all that is. And I'm assuming that during the winter months, they were just running higher than we normally were seeing it from the prior year. But it runs, they run them through, then we actually get paid national grid, but the solar, we see solar credits that show if we're producing a lot of solar, they actually show up as credits, but if not, they're actually show up as a charge on the national grid bill.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome. There's no other questions?
I have a question. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was muted.
That's okay.
So my question on the solid waste. So when we did, I totally understand everybody's home, so they're throwing out more trash. But with those increased costs brought through to next year's budget, I mean, did we make it increase the budget for solid waste next year, foreseeing that people going, this is a continuing trend, or do we think that this trend of the extra tonnage is, going to come to, but you know what I'm asking?
No, we know, Kathy, we increased the budget significantly next year because not only are we getting increased tonnage, but our tipping fee is going up by over 20%. Up to $90 from about $73. So the combination of those two things, but yes, we did incorporate that into the budget that'll be voted next month.
It was a while back, Kathy, but if you recall, when DBW made their presentation, that was one of the highlights that they discussed concerning the tonnage and the tipping.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none.
Thank you.
Thank you, Darlene. I don't have it on the record, but on the agenda rather, but between posting the agenda and now, Article 10, it has an adjustment that Paul has brought forward to us. If Paul, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I'm increasing this request under this article from 175 to 275. As if you've been following the events at 54 Richardson Road, as we go further into it, the news gets worse. The PFAS presence out there. At this point we've installed the first group of monitoring wells. I have the initial results back. And from those initial results, we have to expend additional resources in a couple of areas. One is we need to install additional monitoring wells beyond the first phase because of the results that came back from the first phase. In a nutshell, we find PFAS present by the roadway along Richardson Road near the what would be the outflow, which used to be the former septic area from the highway garage. And the other one being where there was an oil water separator, also near the roadway from the highway garage. That oil water separator was not known because it was literally under pavement until they did the scan, and then we had to excavate that, test it, and then now we have to dispose of those materials as well. And then while they were out there, they also came across a buried barrel in the rear of the property that was filled. That would tended to be a petroleum product, and again was tested and needed to be disposed of. And then based upon that, the select board made the decision to do a comprehensive scan of the entire property, which is sort of a geophysical survey of where they basically grid out the property to do a comprehensive survey out there on the site. And that work is underway right now. And so so the cost of driving up, the further we go into it, a couple of reasons. One is it's difficult to dispose of PFAS materials because of this emerging market of hazardous material. It's sort of like the prior year generation of asbestos concerns and so forth. So the cost of disposal is significant, and the testing has to be extensive. So at this point, I sent to you earlier today, I just received the revised amendment to the contract, and that's why I'm bumping it up an extra $100,000. I think that'll get us to fall town meeting, and depending upon what happens, I don't think we'll see full results of this amendment or second phase of well installation and testing till probably the beginning of August. And then we have to submit our report to the DEP by October. So again, depending upon what comes up, we may be revisiting this whole situation at fall town meeting.
So Paul, with that, that'll expend the entire $400,000 under this current year's, and there'll be no return to the free cash, correct?
Exactly. The 125 from the previous article 2, and then the 275 here.
Okay.
Would get us to 400.
Any questions? Seeing none. Thank you for that update. Next on our agenda is a review, presentation on special town meeting Article 1, the Christina Road pumping station.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm requesting that no action be taken under this article, not because there isn't a cost that's been associated with the unforeseen breakout at the Katrina Road pump station that occurred just over a month ago. But in working with Darlene and John, we're going to cover the cost of, which is roughly about $600,000 to do this repair with the temporary bypass and excavation down below the water table with the installation of the dewatering wells and so forth. Very similar to what happened up at Southwell in March of 2020. We're going to incur this cost through the Federal American Rescue Plan Act monies, the ARPA monies. So therefore, we'll need no action at town meeting to fund this. And obviously, as we were preparing the warrant, we kept this article as a placeholder as we've been waiting clearer definition from the federal monies. So that's why there's no request under this article.
Right.
Can I ask a question about that? Am I muted
Sure.
again?
Of course.
Nope, you're not.
I'm sorry. So for the monies that come in from the federal government, there's $600,000 that doesn't require town meeting approval for expenditure?
No, believe it or not, that when we just got formal guidance on this from the Massachusetts Department of Revenue, Division of Local Services earlier this week, they're treating it like a grant. So it'll be the select board who will be the custodial of the funds, and they will make the determination on how the monies are expended. So it is not just these monies, which will be roughly, we believe, around $11 million or so, will be considered a grant with reporting. I mean, you have to do the accounting, the audit, all that. But in terms of the authorization for expenditures, they're treating it as a chapter 43A, darling, chapter 55, 43A. Anyway, they're treating it as a grant in the form of the selectmen. Chapter 41, 53A. So they're treating it as a grant so that selectmen make these decisions. Board of Select Board makes this decision on how money's are to be expended from the federal relief fund.
That's interesting. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, on the next agenda item, I'm going to recuse myself. Anita's going to handle this portion. And I turn off my audio and video, and Anita, if you can take the reins.
Okay, for the next article, but I don't own the presentation. Oh,
There you
great,
go.
perfect. Thanks.
So
Paul, do you
if you can go to the next slide, John, if you go to the next slide, John Souza will explain what's being requested here and why.
Hi, good evening, Madam Chair, Finance Committee members. This is the slide that you're seeing, just to explain, this is my office was contacted by a resident. Actually, it was an elderly resident and their adult daughter. This is this land parcel is the one that's outlined in blue on the map that you have there. It's a long, narrow strip of land. It's about just over 6,600 square feet. It has an assessed value of about $1,800. And if you look at it, it sits right along Main Street near the intersection of Meadowbrook Road in North Chelmsford. Just to give you the background on this, this resident, this is part of this is basically a scrap or a remainder, if you will. Several decades ago, when Route 3 was built, most of their property was taken by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts by eminent domain, and this narrow little scrap that you see here of land was left, and the resident had been paying taxes on it for many years. They've lived in town for many years, and at this point in their life, they really don't have a use for it. They don't live in that exact area anymore, and you know, they're not interested in paying taxes on a parcel of land that they can't use. It actually came up when they were doing some estate planning, and I then discussed it with our town manager and then also town council, and we were advised the best solution in this case would be to accept this as a land donation under this section of law, Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 14. It requires a vote of the select board to accept it as a gift of land for general municipal purposes. And it will also require a town meeting vote. It's kind of a two-step process. So the select board voted on May 3rd unanimously to accept this gift of land. And then the next step will be to bring it before town meeting for consideration. And I should say, yeah, for the town, really, the benefits will be, although I think the uses may be limited, it sits right along Main Street, so it may be of interest to the DPW. The other thing is, by working in cooperation with the resident, we're able to avoid all of the legal fees and land court costs that would be associated if we had to go through a foreclosure process. So I think it will benefit both parties. Thank you.
Any questions? Seems pretty straightforward. All right, Jim, you can come back for the next article.
All right, next on our agenda, thank you, Anita, is the presentation on special town meeting Article 3, Bentley Lane acquisition.
I'll let John handle this one. He's an expert in land acquisition for the town of Chelmsford.
This spring has been a busy season with land donation. So the background on these two parcels, the legal counsel for the current owners contacted the town manager's office, I believe it was in late April. And you may have recall these parcels. The one that you see on your screen, the larger one, which is parcel 70-311-9, it's outlined in green. That's the larger of the two parcels. And then if you look on your screen to the right, there's a much smaller parcel, 70-311-25, that leads out to Bentley Lane. And you may recall the owners of these parcels brought this before the Board of Appeals, I believe sometime last year, and were attempting to have seeking a variance to have the, be able to build a structure on these parcels. As you may recall, there was significant neighborhood opposition to that. And the current owners, the reason they're basically, seeing the overwhelming opposition and not wishing to pursue it any further, what they expressed is a desire to donate these two parcels to the town of Chelmsford. And so using that same section of Mass General Law, it requires a vote of the select board and then also a approval by at special town meeting. And the thought would be to hold these for general municipal purposes as open space. And they would not be considered conservation land, but at least they would become town-owned parcels at that period, assuming town meeting approves.
Thank you, John. Any questions?
Well, just a general question that I guess curiosity more than anything else, since this is how we end up with like random lots scattered everywhere that don't really have any purpose. Can the town just say no to a donation if it doesn't want it?
Yes.
We could. I should give you some more of the background. Is I think it would be a benefit to the town to accept these just in case they're wanted for some use in going forward. I will say that over the years, I've served since treasurer since 2008, so my history goes back to around that period. These parcels have been in and out of tax title many times, although we've never foreclosed them. You have a significant amount of time and expense with something like that. And I think that, if the town refuses them, they would most likely either hold on to them or try to sell them to another private party who could then bring them back before, and the cycle would start over, try to bring them before the Board of Appeals again or some other avenue.
Eric, in this case, the property owner has some hard feelings, because your normal reaction would be, why not approach an abutting property owner and sell it, right? Because think about it, if you want to put an addition or expand your yard and so forth, in this case, I think there's hard feelings there, and so I think they instead are seeking to donate it to the town. And I guess they could take a tax benefit, for the donation to the town on their federal income tax. But as John said, we can refuse it, but then what happens is, as John said, he's got the administrative costs for tax title and tax possessions and so forth. And certainly we're not going to get any tax revenue off it because they won't pay any taxes on it. So it just goes out there in a limbo state. As you noted, we have had some of these, and recently, within the last 2 months, John sold one of these type of parcels and did receive some revenue to the town for an abutters off of Burica Road. So perhaps as circumstances change, the situation may change and the town may net out positive, because there is no deed restriction on this property in terms of the gift to the town.
Okay, John, you may have said it and I missed it, but what's the assessed value of these? Do you know?
The assessed value of the smaller parcel, the larger parcel that's outlined is 32,300, and the smaller one, I can get that for you. I just
1,800, John. 1,800.
The smaller one.
I thought you meant the previous article. The previous article was 1,800.
Yeah,
I have it. Yep. The smaller parcel that ends with number 25, that's 23,500 is the assessed value on that.
Okay, thank you. And that big one, I mean, it's essentially landlocked, right? There's no access to it other than if you get the small one and go with it.
Yes, it appears that way. And I'd also note that there's you see a wetlands delineation there or a wetlands buffer in that, on that big one, in the bigger parcel.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? All right, seeing none, we move on to Article 4, special town meeting, the solar roof lease for the Forum and the Senior Center.
Yeah, yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're seeking town meeting authorization to lease the roof and of the Forum and the Senior Center for a 20-year period. And the reason for this is that we'll utilize the state procurement law to go off of a state bid list to enter into a solar agreement where a third party, again, contracted through the state procurement process, would be the one who would finance, install, maintain the system. And then we would utilize the power from the systems that are installed to power the respective buildings, the Senior Center and the Forum. So this is sort of part of the town's green energy program, where the reason the Senior Center hasn't been done to date is we just recently re-roofed the Senior Center, and therefore we couldn't proceed with the solar array until the roof was redone. And now that we're sort of have ownership of the Forum, and we roofed the Forum, but prior to our ownership, when we were under the state license and lease agreement, we're now ready to proceed with solar on both of these buildings. And in fact, the solar on the Forum should allow us, when we install our new chiller system for the Forum, that we would then go from natural gas to electricity, and that would be a power. So in essence, the net savings on this, as shown in the next slide, would be $100,000 for the Senior Center for the period, and then it'll be much more than that. But if you net out what the cost would be at the time, probably we may come back either this fall or no later than next spring to install that chiller system. Net of the cost of that new system, which is probably about $500,000, we still would net out about $100,000 on top. So the true savings is about $600,000 for 20 years on the Forum roof, because the Forum roof is huge, especially if you compare it to the Senior Center. But if you want to factor in the cost of what it would be to install the chiller system, which we're going to have to do either way, we still net out at the end of that expense at about $100,000 or so under our best projection. So so again, these are one of the few remaining town buildings that are are appropriate for solar. Obviously, you've been to the Senior Center, and we will be there again next month. It's a very wide open roof, which is perfect for solar. And now that it's been re-roofed, and then at the Forum, again, that's a very wide, expansive roof by the on-ramp to Route 3. And so again, these are sort of the last two major roof solar projects the town has. So again, what this is we need the authorization to enter into lease agreements, and then again, we'll utilize the state contract for the finance, operation, and maintenance. And having been in the scenario where we've purchased and installed through the energy performance contract, we know firsthand the cost of maintenance and some of the issues with long-term maintenance. And this is probably a preferred route to go, as opposed to coming to the town to get the money to do the install and then be responsible for the maintenance over the life of the system. So that's the plan for these two buildings. And again, it's a net positive to the town in terms of financially, but also it puts us again utilizing natural resources or green energy for these two facilities.
Paul, if we're leasing the roof, that implies the lessee is paying us, and then we're using the power to power the two buildings. I'm assuming there's an excess that the lessee, how's the lessee making money on this deal? Is he using the excess power?
And the tax credits. Remember, there's tax credits in this, and so in essence, it's they won't actually make a lease payment to us. They sort of net out to the tax credit benefits. We get a fixed price for electricity, and that's how it rolls forward.
Okay.
And then there'll also be a minor payment in lieu of tax payment for the senior center roof, because that's a taxable commodity, and there'll be a minor, it's less than $1,000, for the payment, the taxes that would be for the private investment of the solar array, because it would be a third party. And then unfortunately for the one in the Forum, that building technically is in Billerica, so we won't receive any taxes from that installation, but we will receive the power, obviously.
Better than nothing, for sure. And I imagine some of this will help with the energy cost issues that the senior center has seen over the past few years. Any questions? Any other questions? All right, seeing none. Next on our agenda this evening is the presentation on special town meeting warrant Article 5 regarding Stedman Street. With us this evening is the member of the public who is presenting this as a public petition, Mr. John Layton.
Can I just say something, Jim? Do I need to shut my audio and video off for this since I live on Stedman Street? Just, trying to be on the up and up here.
No,
Okay.
While you will be affected by it, I don't think that this is one where you would need to.
It has a financial impact. No.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
no real financial impact that you're benefiting from. Although I would argue that that's part of the reason why we're discussing this is that it's affecting people on Stedman Street, and there will be some sort of benefit for that. But to the extent that you would have to recuse yourself, there's a large enough section of the Chelmsford that I believe that I don't think you'll need to.
Okay,
recuse yourself.
thank you.
All right, Mr. Langner, you sent me a version of the presentation dated June 21st, 7:30. It looks slightly different from the one that's been put into the special town meeting presentation by the town manager. So I'm going to use the one that you sent me, just because I know that you're comfortable with that one. That's the one you presented to me to put on the screen this evening.
Okay, they're very trivial differences.
Okay, well, regardless, I'm going to share that one. So let me just. Okay. All right, Mr. Lindner.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity to speak about an issue which is very important to the Stedman Street residents.
And just for the record, what is your address? I think he may have froze.
Okay, I've been living on Stedman Street since 1981, and the problem we face is that the town is inconsistent about the street name spelling, and the inconsistency is getting worse. Next. Here are some of the issues that we run into. On a couple occasions, I tried to place mail orders, but the system either flat out refused to take my street name or wanted to change it to a different name that's found in the United States Postal Service database. But if I use the wrong name for the mailing address, it then rejects my order because it doesn't match the billing address on the credit account. One neighbor couldn't get her driver's license upgrade to Real ID because the required documents had inconsistent street names. Package delivery problems are common, and there's concern that an ambulance might arrive too late due to the confusion. Okay, next. For those of you who are not familiar with it, it starts, I don't know, oh, can you see my mouse? Probably not.
No.
It starts in the Middlesex Village, Middlesex Village section of Lowell, which used to be part of Chelmsford. ends up at Chelmsford Street, Route 110 at Moonstones. And if you look there, you notice the spelling does not change as it crosses over the town boundary. Next. Okay, the street is named for John G. Stedman, who was in the construction and real estate business. And his brothers, George and Elias, also lived on the street different times in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Next. Okay, Stedman Street was accepted at the March 1900 town meeting. Okay, you can see the spelling there. There's some disagreement about that, but I'll fight this issue to the end. You can see the spelling there. And Article 21 was for Smith Avenue, which goes off Stedman. Okay, next. Okay, here's the acceptance document that has all of the surveying measurements. The street name is very consistent. It's signed by all the town officials. Also has the same spelling for Stedman Street, and it's signed by the town officials. So everything is consistent there. Okay, next. Next. Okay, the history books all have the consistent spelling. This okay, yeah, is on Route 110, looking at where 495 is being constructed. And to the right is Dunkin' Donuts, and to the left is where Skip's Ice Cream used to be. Okay, next. Okay, if we look at all the annual town meeting reports and historical documents, there are occasional inconsistencies, but overwhelmingly, they all have this spelling. Next. The property deeds all have the same spelling. Okay, next. All the maps that I could find have the same spelling. It's from the Chelmsford town website. And you notice the street name does not change as it crosses the town border. Next. The Chelmsford Historical Society has lists of residents from 1931 to 2010 compiled by the registrars of voters. And all that I've looked at have the same spelling. Okay, next. All the street signs have the same spelling. Next. The bills from Town Hall have the same spelling. Okay, next. So you're saying, what's the problem? Okay, everyone's been using the same original name for 121 years. Well, almost everyone. Next. Google Street View has captured 2 changes to the street sign just over the period of a couple of years. We can see there's an extra A in there, and that disappears, and then there's an extra A again. Okay, next. And this is our biggest problem. If you look on the left, if you look up a Stedman Street address for Lowell, it comes back with the same spelling. But if you look up the same street in Chelmsford, it comes back with a different spelling. So this is a super spreader because many businesses import this standardized address format into their own databases. Okay, next. Okay, the situation's getting worse because as more businesses are copying the wrong spelling from the US Postal Service database into their own databases. And we'll have a real mess if this starts creeping into legal documents. And if we don't act now, the chaos is going to continue to increase. Okay, next. Oh, it gets worse. Next. So on the left, we have a deed, and it has, I don't know if you can see it, the same spelling that we've seen all along. I've looked up loads and loads of deeds. It's all public information. They're all the same. And in the upper right, we have a property tax bill from a few years ago, and it has the same. Down on the lower right, we have a recent property tax bill, and it has a different spelling. Okay, next. Okay, so the introduction said that the street name had an A in it, but I dispute that. I've put a lot of effort into researching this, but you see, as a practical matter, everybody has been using the same spelling for 121 years. We find it in the street acceptance, we find it in the property deeds, we find it in the maps, in the history books, the lists of residents from the registrars of voters. We see it on the business signs. We see it essentially everywhere. Okay, next. So fixing the problem would be very cheap and easy. First, we just restore the street sign to the spelling seen a couple years ago. Instruct the Postal Service to fix their address database so the entire street has the same spelling. And we have the assessor's office go back to using the street name that's found in the property deeds. So this is not changing the street name, okay? Because this is the street name we've been using all along. There's some inconsistencies in the records leading to different interpretations. This is the spelling that's been pretty much universally for 121 years. So this would not be changing the spelling. This is just reining in a few that have strayed from the spelling that everyone else is using. Okay, and the Stedman Street residents would be very grateful if you could help us to end this inconsistency. And standardize on the spelling that has been used by virtually everyone for the last 121 years. No.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Laner. And just for the record, because I think it cut out when you were speaking, can you just give us your street address? Mr. Laner? Well, it looks like we may be having some, yep.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now, yeah. And just for the record, if you could, because we did have some connection issues when you started speaking, if you could just give for the record your street address.
Okay, 115 Stedman Street.
Thank you. All right. Does anybody have any questions?
Just one that I guess is maybe it's a technicality, but first when I was looking at this when Paul sent up the slides, it's a fascinating, like, wow, it's an interesting story. But I guess the question is, if the warrant article says we're voting to change the name, it sounds like that is the name. Is there any issue with changing something that is already, it's not really a change?
I don't care how it's worded, as long as we end up with STEDMAN, which is the same as we find on the proper deeds and virtually everything else.
Eric, we had town council Paul Haverty, the town clerk Patricia Duras research this. this is the language for the article that was drafted by Town Council Paul Haverty.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Just a comment saying, very good job doing that research.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Laner.
And thank you for the opportunity to be heard about this important issue.
Certainly. I'm going to stop the share of that. Next on our agenda this evening is a review and discussion and vote on recommendations for special town meeting. And with this, we kind of skipped over because we talked about PFAS in the interim, just the adjusted Article 2, which we took no action on previously, and the adjusted number on Article 10 for the PFAS. So if we want to go address those first, so we can include those all together in our report, I'll entertain a motion on Article 2. Let me just bring that back up for you, Kathy.
Thank you. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
Anytime. Hold on. Okay. And that is Article 2 of
Okay.
regular town meeting, spring town meeting.
I will make a motion that we recommend approval of Article 2, fiscal year 2021 operating budget amendments. As noted, line item 2, municipal administrative expenses, 52,000. Line item 3, out of district education expenses, 2,000. Line item 5, public safety expenses, 71,000. Line item 7, public works, 60,000, for a total of $125,000 from the Finance Committee Reserve Fund.
Give a second.
I'll second. Oh, beat you to it.
Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, it's Town Manager Paul Cohen. If I could offer a friendly amendment, looking at this tonight, if we could change line item number 5, public safety expenses, to 60,000, and then add line item number 4, public safety personnel, to $10,000, is because when I noticed here about the building commissioner salaries, that 11,000 is a separate budget line item. I should have broken that up when I prepared the motion, and I will correct it. So that 71 will stay the same, but it'll end up being
Line item
60
4.
for expenses, and in line 4, public safety personnel, 11,000. So I'm sorry for that error, but I just caught it tonight as Darlene was making the presentation. And so anyway.
We will accept that as a friendly amendment. We won't let you read it again, Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we need to change the 52? Because on the
No,
next
no,
page it's
because-
54.
No, because see the extra 2 underneath that is a different budget
Yeah.
line item. We voted a
Okay.
year ago at out of district tuitions is a separate line. So that's why the 52 up to 54.
Should there
Okay.
be a
That's
line
number
item?
3.
Should there be a line item
Right.
6? If we're adding a line item 4, should these not be in sequence?
No, because those reference
Oh,
the
they're
budget
the
line items
original.
that were
Okay.
voted in the motion
Gotcha.
a year ago. So
Thank you.
again, apologize for the confusion.
No problem. Any other discussion?
I think Darlene might have, or John, there's $100,000 surplus, I think, in the snow and ice. Does that 40 that we're leaving by taking out the 60, does that just roll over or potentially go back into free cash? Is there a reason we didn't use all of it?
Yeah, actually, we had to leave a little bit. Speaking with the DPW director, there actually have some outstanding invoices that haven't come through yet for some truck repair on some of the trucks that on the plows, that because they've just been taking them off, so they've gone out for repair. So we just haven't received those invoices yet. So we will be pretty much using the rest of the money that's in snow and ice.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. I'll take a roll call vote. David,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Kathy,
Aye.
Anita,
Aye.
Amina.
Aye.
I think Vicky was traveling and wasn't able to stay on. So that'll be 6-0 in favor. Then we have the amendment to Article 10 with the new value in.
I make a motion that we recommend Article 10 PFASs at the 54 Richardson Road. I move that the town transfer from the fiscal year 2021 Finance Committee Reserve Fund $275,000 for the investigation, reporting, remediation, and other related costs pertaining to the presence of elevated levels of PFAS that could have been detected in the groundwater monitoring wells located at the town-owned property at 54 Richardson Road.
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion? And this is, I believe the original vote was 6-0 on this. It's just a matter of updating the amount, which is a significant change, but understandable based upon the additional work that's being looked at. And as I understand it, it has to be, as a presentation, the deadline for the assessments October 11th of this year. Seeing no further discussion, I'll do a roll call vote. David,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Kathy,
Aye.
Anita,
Aye.
Amina,
Aye.
I'll vote aye. That's 6-0 on the amended article. Now we go to a vote on the special town meeting warrant articles. Article 1, there is no action. So we will be taking no action. And then Anita, I'm going to recuse myself again, turn off my mic and video for Article 2.
Sure. Can you just move forward the slide? All right. Do we have a motion for the purchase of parcel on Main Street?
I make a motion that we recommend approval of Article 2, Main Street Parcel 2399-1, authorizing the select board to acquire the purchase, gift, eminent domain, or otherwise of a parcel of land containing 0.15 acres, more or less, which is identified as Main Street, shown in Lot 1 of the Assessors Map 23, Block 99, and more fully described in a deed recorded in the Middlesex North Registry of Deeds in Book 1198, page 384. Said parcel to be held under the care, custody, and control of the Select Board for general municipal purposes, and further authorize the Select Board and Town Manager to take all actions necessary to acquire said parcel.
Second.
Any discussion? None? All right, do you want to go to a vote? I'll go down roll call. Dave?
Yes.
Amina?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
And then I'm a yes, and Jim an abstention. So it's 5 with 1 abstention. All right, moving on to Article 3, the Bentley Lane acquisition. Jim, you can come back. There you are.
All right, do I have an article? Thank you, Anita. Do we have a motion on Article 3?
I make a motion that we recommend Article 3, Bentley Lane parcels 70, 311, 9, and 25. I move that the town authorize the select board to acquire by purchase, gift, eminent domain, or otherwise 2 parcels of land containing 1.72 acres, more or less, which are identified as Bentley Lane, shown as lots 9 and 25 on the Assessor's Map 70, Block 311, and more fully described in a deed recorded in the Middlesex North Registry of Deeds in Book 21071, page 178. Said parcels to be held under the care, custody, and control of the Select Board for general municipal purposes, and further authorize the Select Board and Town Manager to take all actions necessary to acquire said parcels.
Second.
Any discussion? Just pull the map again. It's not an insignificant amount of land, and I do know that they attempted to build. There was an issue with the Board of Appeals. I'm guessing it had to do with the wetlands, which there is a significant stretch upon the back portion of it. It's interesting that Concom didn't want this, although I can sort of understand it being in the middle of a neighborhood like it is currently. And as John mentioned earlier, if circumstances change, he did just this year sell a parcel of land that the town acquired. So it's something to keep in the back of our minds. But tax, as he said, tax title expenses are not insignificant. And this one has been in it a couple times. So I'd hate to see it go through that process again.
So on that topic, Jim, I thought of a question that's probably a John or Paul question, but if the owner donates this and then the next day in a butter approaches the town to buy it because he wouldn't sell it to him, is there any concerns or issues with that?
No, we'd have to go back to town meeting, get authorization to sell the land.
Okay.
I think what you're getting at, Eric, is if they just don't want to buy from, and a butter just doesn't want to buy from them. They don't want to buy it, sell the butter, and the town accepts it. And then again, the next day, someone says, "Okay, yeah, now I'm interested."
Right.
Just what the reaction would be, and then at that point, once it's been transferred, it's been transferred.
And it's town meeting's decision. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, do roll call vote. And my order is different than Anita's apparently. David?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Anita?
Yes.
Amina?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes as well, 6-0. And that's only because the order in which our boxes appear on our screens is different, just to make that clear. All right, moving along to Article 4.
I'll make a motion, excuse me, that we vote to recommend Article 4, lease of senior center and forum roofs for solar. I move that the town authorize the town manager with the approval of the select board to lease the roof of the senior center building, which is located at 75 Groton Road, Chelmsford, Mass, as shown in the Lot 4 of the Assessor's Map 12, Block 18, and the roof and parking lot of the Chelmsford Forum, which is located at 2 Brick Kiln Road, Billerica, Mass, for the installation of a roof-mounted solar photovoltaic system for a period not to exceed 20 years.
Second.
Any discussion?
To me, I think this is pretty straightforward. Like I said, it was very interesting looking at the history, and I can see how it could be a concern. Not a road I'm on that often, but if you'd have asked me to spell it, I would have not put an A in it. I knew that much.
This is the solar.
Oh, sorry, wrong one. I was all excited. I was all excited about Stedman.
I guess so.
That's a lot more interesting than
I
solar
thought
lights.
you were going to try to spell photovoltaic.
I know, that's what I thought
Photovoltaic.
you were talking about, yeah.
It was very interesting
then
as to
you
where
said-
you were going,
Then you
Eric.
said there's an A in it, and I'm like, yeah, there is an A in it.
Voltaic, yeah. That's easier than per or polyfluoroalkyl substances.
Oh, you said it correctly.
I know. I work for an insurance company.
Well, there you go. So on the leases for the solar on the form and the senior center, yeah, I'm glad to see that this looks like it'll help solve some of the energy situations that the senior center has been dealing with for the past few years. I know in presentations yearly we've heard about concerns about the utilities there. So that if this can help in any way, I think that's great. And then for the chiller system, which has to be, we're in charge of anyway. You know, it is unfortunate we don't get the tax credit for because it's in Billerica, but be able to handle the electricity needs for that would be fantastic. So, any other discussion or questions? All right, seeing none, I'll do roll call vote. David,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Kathy,
Yes.
Anita,
Yes.
Amina.
Yes.
I'll vote yes. That's 6-0. All right, now Article 5. Do I have a motion?
Yes. I'll make a motion that we recommend Article 5, Stedman versus Stedman. I move that the town change the name of STEAD Street, which I think would be pronounced Steedman Street, but regardless, which was accepted by a vote of Article 22 of the spring 1900 town meeting with a spelling of both Steedman Street and Stedman Street, and which, according to the street acceptance documentation, was the subject of a further vote by the town in 1926 to use the name Steedman Street to Stedman Street.
Second.
Discussion?
Well, so I can attest to most of what John said in his presentation. I can't get a real ID because my documentation does not match. My driver's license and the two, things that you have to bring with your address don't match. So I can't get a real ID right now. And then COVID hit, and then I just stopped trying. My mortgage, my deed, and my insurance are all under STEDMAN. And when my mortgage company got the real estate bill, this for the 2021, they called me and squawked because they wanted to know why they were getting a bill for a different address. And I said, it's just a spelling error. And I went back and forth with them probably for about 2 weeks, and we finally got it squared away. But it was a pain in the neck, and I don't get mail. I've had a lot of mail that I haven't gotten because people have sent it to, the proper spelling STED, but if it doesn't have an A, the U.S. Postal Service sometimes doesn't deliver it, or it just gets lost. I'm not saying the guys down here don't deliver it. I'm saying it just doesn't get here because somebody just doesn't know where to send it. It's it's a pain in the neck. It's also a pain in the neck shopping online because my credit card billing address is the ED, and when I put it in, it doesn't want to do that because it says it's not an accurate address. So yeah, it would be nice if we could just have it straightened out, squared away, more importantly, so that my mortgage company doesn't complain to me when next year's tax bill goes out.
Eric?
I was just going to say, refer to my comments from like 5 minutes ago. I'm in favor of this as well. If you're watching recording, just rewind.
No, I can see the issues and the frustration that this is causing, and it's just one of those things that doesn't make sense not to support because there are real implications for it, real world, as we heard in the presentation, as Mina just mentioned. It's going to continue to affect people if it's not addressed. So it makes perfect sense to support this article.
I mean, from a financial standpoint, Paul, how much does it cost to change the street sign?
Yeah, you're talking in the hundreds of dollars. It's not a big deal. You got one at each end and somewhere else along the way, but no, that's not material.
Just for curiosity's sake, the change with the USPS service, is it a notice from the town to USPS, or how did they adopt that change to make sure it's corrected?
Yeah, the town is responsible. I mean, we have a 911 committee, which in more serious things, but what designates official street numbers and addresses because, for phone service and so forth. And so, that basically it would come out of the clerk's office, a record of the vote, and then they can get it over to the post office. So that's how it would materially take place.
Okay, so it'll be an instruction from the town, and that should be sufficient in order to make the change. Okay.
Right.
All right. Any further discussion?
Yeah,
sorry,
it happens over time. I mean, you've seen more recent years. You've seen like boulevards named after Martin Luther King or JFK Boulevard and so forth. So it's not unprecedented for a community to change the name of a street and then notify the post office and other parties.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll take a roll call vote. David?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Anita?
Yes.
Amina?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. That's 6-0. And that brings us to the end of the articles to vote on for special town meeting for this evening. Stop my share. Next on our agenda is review, discussion, and vote, discussion on vote reporting. So we haven't released our votes in presentation form and book form yet. First night of town meeting is June 17th. So I think the target would be next week to get the letter together and make these additional changes we've made to Article 2 and Article 10, and then to hopefully include in the same book, given the fact that the special town meeting is occurring at the same time as spring town meeting, one publication of our reporting to the town. Just do one fell swoop. So there were no oppositions or no other votes, if you will, on the special town meeting warrant articles, or the two from this evening. Kathy, thank you for sending me some of your comments for a couple of the votes that you took that were not that there were opposing views on those votes. If I guess the best way to put it.
Yeah.
If anybody else wants to add anything on their opposing views on a couple articles we had, just send me a quick blurb to include, so we can get that buttoned up and sent out for our report. Discuss plans for upcoming meetings. This should really close our meetings for this fiscal year. We were able to take care of those two changed articles 2 and 10, and then address all 5 of the special town meeting warrant articles. So I don't foresee there being a need to hold another meeting until when we start up again, usually in August, unless for some reason something pops up where there's an adjustment that's needed that would require our approval per the regulations at the state level. I had never had that happen while I've been on the finance committee, but it's a possibility always. But barring that, I don't see there being a need to meet again until that time. So with that, we'll enter into public comment. Anybody for the public that would like to speak at this time? I would just like to say that we have 2 members of our finance committee that will be leaving us at the end of this fiscal year. They have both dedicated themselves greatly to the finance committee. They have certainly put in a lot of time and effort in their work with our committee, and I'd like to thank them both for their time. One of which is here this evening, Amina Langford, who's been on our committee for quite some time now, and she's been a great asset, and we're sorry to see her leave. And the same can be said about Vicky. Vicky was on earlier this evening, but was traveling this evening, wasn't able to stay for the entire meeting. She will also be stepping down at the end of her term at the end of June. And so we wish them both luck with everything they're going into and their endeavors. And we're sorry to see them go, but we understand their reasons for doing so. And they'll be tough people to replace.
Well, I'll second that.
I was going to second that as well.
Yeah. We miss you already.
I'll
Thank
make
you.
it unanimous.
Yes.
Thanks. I actually, is it okay if I speak now, Jim?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so I prepared some words just because I'm not good off the cuff. So I just want to say, you know, being my last finance committee meeting, it's bittersweet to walk away from something that I've enjoyed as much as I have being a part of this committee. I realize that I've been very fortunate. This work, this committee, and these people that I've known for the last 5 years have meant so much to me, and I'm proud to have been a member of this team. 5 years ago, when I joined, I was made to feel at home from the very first meeting. Not just the members, but the town employees from all departments, Paul, John, Darlene, everyone. You never made me feel like I was asking stupid questions as I learned the nuances of municipal finances, and it makes it doubly difficult to leave. None of us achieve in isolation, and everything we have accomplished as a committee has been done together as a result of our mutual cooperation and collaboration. And it is a pleasure and a privilege to have worked alongside people who understand how to bring the best out in each other, even if it's only for a few weeks in the fall and winter. I thank you, Jim, for your inspired leadership. I thank you, Kathy, Anita, David, Eric, and Vicky for your humor, and most of all, your friendship. As some of you already know, I'll be starting law school in August. It's a lifelong dream of mine, and now is just the right time to do it. I'm going to miss all of you. You've been a part of my journey for a long time now, and I hope you'll be a part of it going forward. So it's not goodbye. I'll see you guys all around town. And with the advent of technology, I'm only a text, email, or Facebook message away. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mina.
Thank you. Good luck.
We will miss
Thank
you.
you. I'll miss you too.
All right. Any further public comment? I think that's a good note to end on. I see no press. There will be no press questions. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much. We'll see everybody at town meeting on June 17th
Bye, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Bye. Thanks.
at the Senior Center at 7:45.
That's fine.
Good night.